Hello everybody, so today I've got a cool interesting theory subject to talk about that I've always thought about the whole time 10th edition has been around. It's one of the reasons why I played a lot of Grey Knights at the beginning of the edition, and all that jazz, but Leviathan was so busted that it was less relevant on secondaries. But with Prior Nexus, I've been sitting on this idea for like quite a while. Obviously, I've done it before, but it's more relevant nowadays. Um, haven't made a video about it or anything, talked about it too much besides inside of coaching. So I was just sitting around, wanted to make a video about it. Um, and this is my second take, so I had to redo it as usual. So here we go. Pretty much, this video is going to be about an idea. And the idea is that we need to deny secondaries. Okay, now you're like, well, why do we need to deny secondaries? The reason why is that a lot of armies score high on secondaries when they're going to win the game. This is done either through having a lot of MSU units, like demons, Drukhari, or any elf type army, or through luck. Otherwise, you average out at about 27 to 30 secondary points, which is just about average, okay? So if you worse a typical opponent, or if you go back to your app and you look at, hey, how many secondaries am I getting in my games? I'm getting about 27 to 30 secondaries. Usually this number can edge out to like 32, 33, but this is like, it's more like 26 to 29 on average secondaries. Okay. Now, besides that, the other thing is about, well, why are we talking about secondaries, right? There's a recent episode on YouTube that people were like, oh, you can just score secondaries. It's random and it's really easy to do, and you can't really like attack it because everybody just scores their points on secondaries, and all the best armies in the game always score like high on it. And primary is one of the things where, you know, everybody is kind of getting the 35, 40 primary, and you can't get the full 50. And the armies that are getting the full 50 on primary are the ones that are either tabling your opponent completely, or they abuse the shit out of the mission, which says, hey, do actions like terraforming or something else, and if you do play on those missions, you get terraforming off in the first turn because the layout was like really janky, or you could jail your opponent turn one and get terraforming, and you get a 50. You just basically win the game. But outside of those missions, where it's usually on primary, both sides are really equal, and it just comes down to who goes second, and if the person who goes second or first gets the secret mission off, and they can kind of like match you on primary. Okay, so the primary game relatively, even when I teach you guys score projection, stays the same. The person who goes second has a 5-point lead from holding multiple objectives at the end of the game, while the person going first can't hold the first objective because you'll deny it. And there's kind of the score differential on primary, but it's not a big deal. The big deal is the secondaries, because you can lose or win games if you score max secondaries through randomness, or you score like just barely hit like 23 secondaries in some games, okay? And I played some games recently where I've just like, you know, had some bad luck, scored about 25 points in secondaries, or even like 23 points in secondaries, and I've scored 50 on primary, but I just didn't score my secondaries, and my opponent just like would randomly win, or by like 2-3 points, or would randomly lose, not randomly lose, but like would not lose as much if I had scored like 38 secondaries or 30 secondaries at least, right? So there's a whole like 10 points missing between 20 secondaries and 30 secondaries. Now, so I wanted to attack the secondary game, even though some people think you can't. You definitely can. Or they think it's useless to, because they'll just discard the secondaries and keep going through the deck. Again, I think it's very relative. And most opponents are not going to see it coming anyways. And if you do this, plus you tie it into taking fixed, it's one of the ways that if you prepare yourself for this, almost like if this is a video game or a chess tournament, and I came in very well prepared with like a week worth of work, right, into just this specifically, and I had a whole team with me, let's say my whole team of WTC players, we spent the whole month hyper focused on perfecting this with all the different armies that we have access to, and we found the perfect thing, we can make it work, right? So it takes some effort, but most people, even if you go into this idea like I am, most people who are going to play against are not going to be that deep. They're going to go there, they're going to try to play Warhammer, they're going to draw their 2 cards and be like, oh look, I can't do Assassinate, I can't do Bring It Down, I'm going to pitch a command point, draw a new one, oh I can't do Call the Horde because you have a 20 man with 30 wounds, okay cool, I'm not going to do it, cool, I get 0, awesome, you know, you love to tilt them. So let's talk about these secondaries here. Okay. Anything else I missed? No, that's pretty much it. Okay. So secondaries. These are the secondaries. There's 6 of them that you have no control over. Okay. Your opponent will pretty much score these 100% of the time. Okay. So this is 1/3. 1/3 of the secondaries, 6 out of 18. Okay. Your opponent's gonna score always. Now, these ones are really easy. Containment, secure no man's land, extend battle lines, engage on all fronts, cleanse, and establish locust. You can easily get 4 points on this. You can easily get 2 points on this. You can easily get 2 points on this, 5 on this, 6 on this, and 5 on this. Okay, that is quite a lot of score. If you look at the score line, 11, 16, 20, 24 points in 3 turns, you're scoring more than half of the points. The rest of them, though, is difficult, and you're not always going to get all of these. And sometimes, something with these secondaries as well, which a lot of people forget about, is if you do containment, if you do cleanse, if you do locust, if you do extend battle lines, maybe not extend battle lines, but if you do containment or secure no man's land when you're going for like the bigger one, you end up giving a unit. So you actually, to do this, it says please sacrifice one of your units. Okay, sacrifice a unit, and sacrifice a unit for engage. Sacrifice a unit for cleanse if you want max cleanse. Okay, so that's what it actually reads. It reads lose 60 points of your army to 100 points of your army to secure an extra 3 victory points. Is 100 points of your army worth 3 extra victory points? Irrelevant to the discussion, but these are the easy ones. Okay, so let's cross these out. We don't need to talk about these. Let's talk about these 2. These 2 missions are the ones that you'll find that people will do, and bad players will, basically what happens is they start sabotage and you kill their unit. The card doesn't go away, and then they have to spend a command point to get rid of it, or they have to redo sabotage. Recover assets, same thing. People have to do it in their home field and in the midfield to score recover assets, which at that point you can always kill the unit and they'll be stuck with recover assets. Also, if they do complete it, they only score 3 points. Okay, not a big deal. But the point is you can, okay. So we X this out. We say that this one here is that we can. Okay, we can do these sometimes, but they are punishable. Okay, so these ones are punishable, so we gotta look at this right here. Probably use different colors. Let's do blue for the next one. Then we look at the ones at the bottom. Okay, no prisoners, defense stronghold, air denial, storm hostile, and overwhelming force. Defense stronghold is basically the same as this recover assets, where we can deny it because it's scored in our opponent's next turn or at the end of our turn. So we can deny this. I should have put it over here. No prisoners, right? This is a card that our opponent generally will score not max on. So this is something that we can also attack and only give our opponent 2 points on. Air denial is something that most of the time your opponent's going to score 5 points on this card. But I'll get to it a little bit later. We can deny this, or we can make it really difficult for our opponent. For example, if we have a character that can resurrect back to life on a 2+, we can slam that guy directly in the center of the board, and our opponent's going to be like, well, I can't kill it in shooting and in combat. I can only do it one way or the other, so I'm not going to get air denial. Okay, now this becomes a math game when you start thinking about, well, you know, do I need to do this every turn to deny air denial, or how often, like what's the odds of my opponent drawing this on the turn that I put a dude out there. Okay, so ignore this, but this is a card that we can deny. Storm hostile objective. This again, our opponent's not taking our home objective, and our opponent is not taking our expansion objective after the first turn. So he cannot score this card unless he takes us off our actual expansion or our home objective, which we should be holding for at least, let's say if we're built for it, 4 out of 5 turns. Okay, which means that the first turn we don't score points, we don't put a unit onto it, he cannot score this. He can also recycle it for free, so it doesn't matter. He's going to recycle it. The second turn, anything past that, he's not going to get it because we're going to keep OC like 16 on that objective. Like let's say 6 Custody guardsmen in the character, or a Judiciary plus fight first. Sitting on the objective, our opponent cannot take it off of us because he doesn't want to charge into us, and our list is made that way. This card becomes a dead card. Overwhelming Force. Am I even recording? Yeah. Overwhelming Force is another card that if we have the same plan of sitting on that objective, our opponent cannot take us off of our home objective and cannot take us off of the objective with the Judiciary and OC16 on it, or just a durable unit. Okay. What this means is that these cards are unscorable for our opponent, which is really good. So again, this is something that we can deny, but it's harder to play around this, but it's possible. Okay, so let's go to the next one. These are the ones that we all know we can deny and are often denied. Assassination. I'm going to go to like yellow. Assassination. We just keep one character on our list. That character sits in our Judiciary squad and it cannot be killed. Our opponent cannot score it. He will get rid of it. Behind enemy lines. Our opponent is never entering our backfield without our say, as long as we keep the screens out for the whole game, as we should be in a well-rounded list, which I'll get to. He's never scoring this. Mark for Death. Everybody pitches this at all times, as you guys know. Even you guys do, so we're not going to score this either. Bring It Down. Another card that if we take a single vehicle in our list, or a monster, like one single Rhino, or we take a single ATV, our opponent is never scoring this card, which means he must pitch it. Cull the Horde. A lot of you guys don't have anything in your list that have a bigger break of units, but for those who play Death Watch, who play Creations of Bile, who play anything that have ACDC or bigger break, if we on purpose take something that has a bigger unit size or has a lot of wounds, like even 10 heavy intercessors, 220 points, we can take that into our list and we can use that as, hey, this is going to hold our objective and our opponent's not going to be able to kill it when they draw Cull the Horde, which increases our chances of, number one, attacking their command points, so they have to pitch, attacking their score, more importantly, attacking their mental. That's the real one. Okay, we want to attack their mental. That's a big one. And then on top of this, it lowers their chances of actually drawing all of these other cards. Okay, now I'm going to erase all this. Perfect. So that's where the idea is. The idea is, what if we do this? So let's go back to the originality of, like, back in the start of the 10th edition, what happened is the Grey Knights 30 Terminator list with like a 10 Paladins, 2 Strikes, an Assassin, and 2 Terminator squads with characters in every single Terminator squad and the Paladin squad. For the first 3 turns, you were uninteractable. Your opponent could not Cull the Horde. Your opponent in Leviathan, Bring It Down, if you drew it, I believe you had to try and do it. It wasn't a free recycle, but let's just say it was a free recycle in the current edition. He would recycle this, but let's say we make a new list based off the old idea. We add a Rhino to our list for 75 points instead of the Assassin. Okay, so our opponent cannot do Cull the Horde. We have 30 Terminators in our list. Our opponent cannot do bring it down because our rhino is unkillable. Our opponent cannot do mark for death because all of our units, the 2 strikes and the rhinos in our backfield, are not going to go up and down, and we're going to pick those 3 units. Our opponent cannot kill them. Our opponent's not coming in our backfield because everything is screened out, and our opponent's never getting assassination because our characters are attached to our giant brig of Terminators. Perfect. The next part. Sabotage and recover assets. As soon as our opponent starts one of these secondaries, what we're going to do is drop the Drago squad, and we're going to shoot them off the board, or we're going to do a 6-inch charge into it and kill them. Okay? Very easy. So our opponent cannot score these cards either. Perfect. So let's X all these out. So far we have 7 cards that cannot be scored. Defense Stronghold is going to go into this pool. Grey Knights like to take our opponent's backfield off of them at some point and hold it. So it's going to be scratched out. Okay, it's going to go back into this recover asset sabotage side. No prisoners. Our opponent cannot kill anything in our army, as we just discussed for the first 3 turns, if not longer than that. So cannot score this card either. Air denial is something our opponent will score, but what we can do is put a giant Terminator brick in the center. We can say either shoot us and we can teleport out, charge us, or like move towards us and we can just Miss Deimos out. And so they can't get air denial either. This happens half of the time, but overall we can also jail our opponent. So on our 3rd turn, when our opponent can attack us, we can jail our opponent and he's not going to get air denial outside of like the 1st turn if he goes first. So let's basically X that out as well. That's 50% chance of our opponent not scoring this card. Storm hostile objective. This one is a card that our opponent also cannot do, because guess what? As soon as this tries to storm our objective that we are on, well, we can just, all of our guys are strike squads, so we can stay on there. We have OC10. It's tough for our opponent to get onto it. If they want to charge us, we can have our guys lined up in the front and be like, you have to shoot us off of it. And if you shoot us, you're not getting onto it. If you get onto the objective, we can Miss Deimos and manipulate that, right? And we can also put their guys on the front of the objective on their side so they can't get onto the objective and they have to charge us, but by the time that happens, we just Miss Deimos out and they cannot get storm hostile. Or we do the simple thing of putting a big 10-man break on one side behind a WTC table, and our opponent can never ever ever take the objective because there's like 36 OC on it, and we're perfectly fine. Okay, so they cannot get storm hostile because we have a big squad. Overwhelming force they're never going to get because they're never going to kill us off an objective, because we can teleport with Miss Deimos. We can hide behind walls, and our single paladin brick that does expose itself is going to use his once per game teleport, get out of dodge. Or if they try to attack us, it's really, really hard to kill a unit that has 30 wounds, 4 up invul, 2 up save, AOC, and a character attached to it. So this is going to be really tough for our opponent. Same reason why I call the hordes going to be really tough for our opponent. Secure no man's land. Our opponent will definitely get all these. So we have just accomplished the goal that our opponent actually can only score these cards, which guess what is 24 points max. Okay, if our opponent does all these for max except for Locust, right? If he does Locust for max, he'll get 28 points, or sorry, 26 points, or he'll get 24 points if he does Locust for 2. Now again, the Locust thing, he has to come to the center, which we might be jailing him, we might be stopping him. Cleanse is the same thing. Engage on all fronts might have a little bit of a difficulty doing. Sometimes like might be a slower army. But overall, we're going to notice that our opponent's score projection just went down. If they even draw these cards, by the way. They might not even draw all of these. They might draw all of these and miss out on like Locust or miss out on Containment in a game. And their score goes drastically lowered. Okay, if Extended Battle Lines and Containment are on the bottom of the deck, they're going to be in a really bad time. Really bad. Even if they scored these cards randomly, they're still going to be like in the 20 margin. So it's gonna be really, really of a bad time. So that's where the idea comes from. Now, a lot of people's armies cannot be built this way, but this is a strong way. So I think what something people should think about is, and this actually gets even better when we start playing fixed secondaries. Because what happens is when we play fixed, we don't have to do all of these stupid things. All we have to do is understand that our opponent's going to score a 24 on secondaries, best case scenario. Let's just say they're going to score like a 27. This is actually wrong. They're going to score like a 24. Okay, they're going to score a 24 max. It's irrelevant. Mid 20s, low 20s. Our secondary score when we're playing fixed is going to be at the bare minimum a 30. Okay. Bare minimum, we're going to score 30 points if we take fixed. If we take fixed, there's something big that happens. And the big thing that happens is we can if we take cleanse as our fixed secondary, we can keep sending units to the center for air denial to deny this. The second thing that happens is obviously it opens up overwhelming force, it opens up storm hostile objective, which is totally fine. It opens up no prisoners for a little bit of points, for like 2 points, right? So it opens up these things to give our opponent a little bit of leeway. But again, they're still missing out on like all of these cards and like this one and whatever else. So they might not draw all of these in the first place. If they're drawing these, this is turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. They're only getting 4 of these and pitching like 4 of them into more of these, right? So they're not going to score any of these. So we could play fixed, score really, really well on fixed. We can also play fixed where we don't have to send our units onto the objective. We can play engage on all fronts, and that does not give up storm hostile or overwhelming force. We can play engage. We can send 2 units forward every single turn. We can jail our opponent or just easily move right over the edge and score max on engage. We can then score the rest of our points, scoring like 12 on cleanse, where we do cleanse on one objective for 2 points, and then we round it up by doing it at the end of the game on an extra objective for 4, or we switch it up when we realize that our opponent has already pulled overwhelming force and storm hostile, so we can do it on like at that point on top of it and get extra points. Or we use Mr. Deimos for playing that type of army to basically get out of dodge in that circumstance to score extra cleanse. Okay, anyways, the point is we'll score like 32 points minimum. That goes all the way up to 36 points, which is where we want to be, and it's really good. Now, let's get out of the whole fixed factory for a second and go back to this. How do we start adjusting our lists to make this work for us, right? We don't want to go super extreme where we're playing Grey Knights. We can't play Grey Knights. What we do want to do is start taking a single unit that is bring it down. We want to cut back our characters that are going to go up and do damage, like a captain with 5 assault intercessors. Don't take that unit. Take out the captain, put in something else. If you take out the captain, you can 100% upgrade the assault intercessors into a 10-man. You could add something else into the squad. You could upgrade that squad to like 6 Blade Guard, and that will do much more damage. You don't need to run that same package. You just use the points for something that hits a bit harder and scores you assassination, or denies assassination from your opponent. So take more things in your army lists that your opponent's never ever going to get access to, like never going to score Bring It Down, never going to score Call the Horde, okay, never going to score Assassination, never going to score Behind the Lines, never going to score Mark for Death. If you can guarantee these ones, your game plan is going to go way higher in terms of like you're going to win your game that you probably should have lost or are really close. The other thing is that I've been playing, and Indirect has kind of fallen out of the meta, but it's kind of creeping in, but hasn't really gone into like the full effect. ever since Innis and people stopped playing Distillation Marines, but the casual scene is still playing them. But their builds are like all over the place because they just don't comprehend what a good list looks like. And my recent list that I've been playing, gone back to, is running like triple Obliterator Abaddon or taking Kairos Fate Weaver and all of these things. One of the benefits of running this style of list, okay, which a lot of people struggle into, and this is why a lot of my games kind of just whittle away or end on turn 2, turn 3, like really strangely, is because a lot of people bring like 4 to 6 scoring units, okay? I'm going to use demons as an example, or even space marines. So let's look at space marines. We bring 1 unit of scout. We bring, okay, so I'm going to put like scouts, right? Then we bring a unit of infiltrators. Then we bring a unit of, what else do we have? Like, incursors, right? In a lot of the lists, incursors. After that, we're kind of being whittled down into random units, okay? But there's like 3 here for Space Marines. Let's just put a Rhino if you're versing CSM. A Rhino is a good one that people might have, or just a transport in general. So Rhino / transport is a good one. And then let's go to demons. Demons have ×2 dogs. After that, they have ×1 or ×2 seekers. Then they have like 1 unit of Nurglings. And then they have 1 unit of Plague Bearers. Now the Plague Bearers are not really action monkeys, but we're going to put them there. Okay, that's kind of like what demons bring when they're scoring with their units, and the rest of the scoring is done through their Great and Clean one or some other demon, basically. Now, when I play my Obliterator list or my Desolation Marine list, what happens is at the beginning of the game, right, all these YouTubers tell you, oh, here's the map. I'm going to draw the map for you guys. And it's going to be like, okay, here's a triangle. I should probably like do this somewhere else. Here is the rectangle. Here's the table, okay? We're playing Warhammer. Here's the deployment. Here's the middle of the map. Here's the objective. Here's your deployment zone. Here's your opponent's deployment zone. Looks like a Pokemon Stadium. And it's like, oh, you should put a unit of scouts up here to do containment. You should put a unit of dogs back here behind the wall to move out and do containment. And like do all these actions. Then your Plague Bearers or Infiltrators are on your home objective, probably somewhere over here. And you have a unit of Seekers like behind the wall in the middle somewhere to go do extend battle lines turn 1. Well, I go first, and I decide to move my Obliterator unit up the map and blow open this guy. Then my other unit goes up, and my third one goes up, and I blow open your dogs. Okay, so all of a sudden, you lose 2 of your units. And everything that you learned from that YouTube video of like, oh, you should have units prepared to do actions for you don't exist. Okay, the next thing is that you just lost. Like, let's take a look at this army, the demons list, right? If I kill your dogs turn 1, you have no more teleporting unless you pay command points if you're even in that detachment, or you have almost nothing left. The Nurglings are in deep strike to get you engaged, or they can't do actions. The Plague Bearers are on your home objective, they're not doing anything besides like recover assets. And the Seekers can go out, and what happens is, guess what? The Seekers come out to do an action, and my Plague Marines get out of the Rhinos, kill the Seekers with shooting, and maybe I lose a single Obliterator unit before it because I run him out with an advance, so sacrifice it. And my opponent goes, well, all I have left is 5 Greater Demons and these 2 guys. Like, you know, what am I supposed to do? Nothing's left in my army that's going to score me secondaries anymore. I can't do actions, and my big guys have to go towards you to kill you now because that's how my normal game goes. Same thing in Space Marines. And so that's what I've been noticing a lot with my list and playing in direct armies is people are bringing less and less scoring units, and they're bringing more and more damage units. This is probably because scoring is relatively easy, or the original idea when Pariah Nexus came out was, well, we don't need to score these cards. What we need to do is table our opponent. Okay, the main idea, if you go back and watch or listen to Art of War and all their stuff, or you recall any memories of that and the information that you heard on YouTube, it was like, hey, why don't we just table our opponents and worry about scoring later? Why was this the case? Because Leviathan Mission Pack, which is the Starter 10th edition, on the average, you were scoring 50 secondaries. Okay, but you were capped on secondaries at 40. This made no sense. Now you lost a lot of secondaries. So now when you look at the secondary score, you're scoring about 30 out of 40. Okay, this makes more sense, not this. The average being 50 out of 40 was ridiculous if you just draw a card and score every single one of them. And the 30 out of 40 nowadays is like relatively okay, which is where we all are. Okay. And the only reason this goes up or down is because if you draw bad, or it's a tight game, or your opponent gets tabled and you just score everything afterwards for free. Okay, perfect. So we go back to tabling our opponent. A lot of the metagame at the current moment is, I'm going to do a different thing about this, but basically it's like 30 possessed, creations of bile, okay, list. The 30 possessed list existed before creations of bile came out. It was still very strong, but because creations of bile came out and Anthony Manila took it and won immediately, everybody kind of jumped on it, and it's been performing even now, and it's pretty easy to play, and so people are just kind of still playing it because it's like, it's more fun with the random rolling and stuff like that. But anyways, 30 Christians of Bile list, not pile, bile. Tabled my opponent, fantastic. 5 Greater Demons, table the opponent, fantastic. Then we have, like, what else is there? Gladius Space Marines, okay. Space Marines, Death Watch, table the opponent. Okay, then we have Black Templars, table your opponent, even though they're not like that good, but they're gonna try to table you. And they bring like 300, 200 point units. Then we have Custodes is also like kind of table your opponent, if you want to score big. Then we have Eldar are also trying to table you, mostly, basically. And punish your mistakes. Knights. Okay, knights are also trying to table you first. My point is, all these armies are kind of stat checky, and they have extremely expensive units and very, very elite. And then you have opposite armies like GSC. That's extremely weird, but they can also just table you. But that's not where the power lies. Tyranids, a lot of the Tyranid builds nowadays are like the Monster Mash list just come back into the meta a little bit, right? So Northern Emissaries and stuff is very annoying. A lot of the CSM lists are also bringing like the tank spam. Death Guard is bringing a bunch of like 12 tanks. CSM is bringing 12 tanks. Randomly you might face an Iron Hands player or a Space Marine player with like 3 Vindicators and 3 Ballistic Dreadnoughts is still a thing that won a tournament. And then just Gilliman and Calgar, which basically counts as like a giant unit as well. So, and all these things are super expensive. Like half your army is in like 5 units. It's like 1,000 points, if not 1,500 points. And then you have like 500 points for trash. And what happens is we kill our opponent's trash, and then they can't score these cards even more. And that's another idea that I want to talk about, why I've been having so much success with indirect and Anvil Siege Force or anything else, is people want to attack the primary, and that's perfectly fine. The thing is, secret missions still exist, and you can attack the primary as much as you want. It doesn't take a lot of list adjustment to actually attack someone's primary. Usually it just means you're going to bring more elite stuff, which is what kind of people are doing, or your army just is stronger than them, or plays that way like Christians and Bile with like 30 possessed. The secondary game, there is nothing your opponent can do if you bring 3 whirlwinds, a desolation squad, and all of a sudden the whirlwinds, 2 whirlwinds pick up a unit by itself, and the 1 oath whirlwind with like a buff picks up another unit, and then the desolation squad hit a 5-man with blast or 10 cultists and pick that up, and you kill 3 of your opponent's screening/scoring units in the first turn. Even if you kill them going second in the first turn, it's still relative because your opponent just has nothing left to score with, and everything else proceeds as normal. And I've been noticing this a lot. My opponents just give up on the game because I go turn 1, I pick up 2 of their scoring units. Turn 2, they score whatever they can. And then usually that means that I can pick up containment, I can bring in a unit from reserves and pick up something small. I can advance one of my squads forwards, shoot them, and take away an asset. And I generally will end up scoring large leads, and my Abaddon Brick will stand on an objective being unchargeable because it has fight first at all times, and I'll win the game. So that's kind of what this video is about. Hopefully it was useful to you guys. I'm going to experiment with this more and build lists that are extremely well designed to deny these two 100% and deny the assassination card as well. And then I'm going to have some indirect at all times that when my opponent goes, I want to score these 2 cards, I'm going to tell him no. Okay, I'm just going to straight up be like, no, you're not scoring these. You better pitch them, or it's going to cost you a command point to pitch it on the next turn. And this can cost you the game. Okay, so it's really important if half the cards in the deck are unscorable for my opponent. The other half are like scorable, but it all depends on what he draws. And then everybody's like idea of, hey, I have a CP generator and I have Gilliman in the list. Well, your CP generator now every single turn is forced to use that command point to generate you extra cards that you might or not be able to score at the end of the day anyways. So your command point generator that you're paying about 100 points for is now useless. Okay, so we're attacking this. We're then going to consider the fact that we're going to kill your trash. So we're attacking your secondary scoring even more, which affects your screening, which if I have 10 Terminators in Deep Strike and your screening ever breaks apart, I don't care what list you're bringing. If I slam 10 Terminators onto your home objective, you're going to lose that game very quickly. Even if all 10 Terminators die, you're just going to lose the game. So people who play Deathwatch or Indirect Demons or anything like that, bring at least something that has Indirect that can significantly kill a 5 or 10 man squad, like 10 Guardsmen or 5 Space Marines, so they can deny these objectives. If you can actually deny your opponent's home objective or shoot that far, it's really, really powerful. One of the things that people have stopped running in Space Marines particularly is Inceptors, and Inceptors went down in points, which is good because now they're like actually takeable, and they're one of the things that people have just stopped. Space Marines don't have room for infiltrators. They usually only bring 1, and there's a lot of armies in the current game that have 3 wound bodies and are very elite. And if I tell you that Calgar can be deep struck on and shot with 6 plasma inceptors or 6 bolter inceptors that are buffed up with extra AP, ignore cover, and what else, you're going to be significantly scared for Calgar's life, because AP2 ignore cover, you can pop AOC if you want, but you might not have command points for it. It's going to do significant damage into that unit, especially if I throw a grenade first or something. And that unit is going to die. So Plasma Inceptor is something that you can consider taking. 16 Deep Strike units are usually something you can consider taking. Even in Votan, with the new detachment, you can consider taking 5 Terminators with Deep Strike just to shoot into people's units and clear them out and play a different style of game. So if you guys watch this video, if you guys liked it, you know, drop a comment, and let me know if you guys experiment with it, right? I'll let you guys know if I play some games with this. So far the indirect has been working as usual, and I'm gonna probably go back on the 30 Terminator Grey Knight list relatively soon, and I'm playing with some different cool ideas where I can deny Call the Horde and bring it down every single turn, and having 100% like 5 Desolation Marines to deny Defense Stronghold, deny Recover Assets, and deny Sabotage, which is why sticky objectives is very strong to just at least hold your home objective the whole game. Because if you don't have sticky, then it's going to be a tough time for you to complete it. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much the whole video, guys. See you next time.